Biel. He was only 10 years old when he was forced to flee his village in South Sudan because of fighting. 10 years old, imagine. Forced to flee for miles and miles on end until he ended up at a refugee camp. I want him to tell his story so that you could know. You could know how fortunate you are to be where you are and how fortunate you are to have never been where they have been. Pur Biel, welcome to Hot 96.
Thank you so much.
And he's also joined by the UN Refugee Agency's spokesperson, my good friend Yvonne Bege.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Welcome back to radio.
Thank you.
Pur Biel, talk to us, man. So what happened? You were 10 years old, fighting all around your village. Take us through it.
Yeah, actually, I left South Sudan, it was 2005. The reason is whereby we had a conflict, a civil conflict in South Sudan, as we know that. That time it was Sudan in general. It happened one day whereby our village was attacked by the government. Me and my family, we managed to escape from that attack that night. And then we went to the nearby bush. We hid ourselves for 3 days, good 3 days in the bush. We were eating fruits and leaves. You know, some of these fruit, they were poisonous. After that, my mother made the worst decision in our life. Because I was the eldest child in our family, she decided to go to Ethiopia with my sibling brother. Because the situation had become worse to my sibling brother. She told me, you are big enough to survive, Pur, because now you are man. Let me go with your sibling brother to Ethiopia so that maybe we can get the food. And then we come back after that one week or after 3 weeks. And then after that, she left me with my neighbors in the bush. We went back to the village, we find everything was abandoned. The government, they takes all the belonging cows and other things because they use those food to survive for like the way we are doing. And then by good luck, the United Nations came to our village and rescued us. I was lucky because I get the first child to come with my neighbor to Kakuma refugee camp. First of all, we came through Lokichogi. We took 3 months in Lokichogi to get our process so that we can come to Kakuma refugee camps. That is how I ended up in Kakuma refugee camps in 2005 without parent. As that 10 years old, as a teenage person, with my neighbor.
So who were you living with, your neighbors in Kakuma? Or?
Yeah, you know, in South Sudan, we are living as a family, even if you are not related in blood. You can take that child to be your child. That time when my mother left me, the woman that we are living together now in Kakuma refugee camp, he took me as her own son. Since that time, she told me now, I cannot leave you in this situation, you can go back. Everywhere I'm going with my children, we can go together. When we reached to Kakuma now, he told me, I'm your parent now. Don't think about anything in your life, depending on your parent because you left them. You don't know how situation they are in South Sudan. And then I take that advice to say that, okay, let me depend on this woman so that maybe she can serve my life. Although I get saved from United Nations, but this is one way of saving my life because without that woman, maybe my life could not be.
Sure. And how was life? What was life like in the refugee camp in Kakuma?
Yeah, actually life in the refugee camp was better than the life that I was in South Sudan. Although there was a lot of challenges in refugee camps. By that time, when I was 10 years old, you know, I think about my life. I say, let me go to school. Maybe it will save me. But apart from that is whereby in Kakuma there is no water, clean water. I will come back from the school and go to fetch my water, cooking for myself. And that was the best challenge for me because maybe you are coming back. I came back from the school. And for that duration of going back to school, because it only maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour line time, now going to fetch water, coming back and cook, it take a lot of time. Even sometimes I miss a school, or maybe I miss line because there's no time for me to cook for myself. Apart from that, as we know that we are depending on United Nations food. The food that we are getting, it is depend according to your ration number. If you are 2, you can get more food. But if you are 1 person, the food that we are getting, it can take 15 days. But that food for 1 person, it cannot last for that 15 days. But it's something that we depend on because there's no option to do on that. It is only to survive and to seize tomorrow in the future.
Did you ever reconnect with your family?
For the first time, when I communicated to my mom, it was when I was in Olympics in 2016. She called me. We had an organization in our area, Nasser. They heard about the Olympics, about the refugee team in the Olympics. And then they find my name in that list. We communicate through Messenger.
So that was the first time you talked to your mother?
That is my first time.
That was 11 years after you got separated.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the Olympics. Let's take it a step back. So how did you end up in the Refugee Olympics?
Yeah, actually in 2015, that time I was in Form 4. I was doing my last exam.
So this is 10 years after you fled.
After I fled.
Mm-hmm.
We had a race in Kakuma refugee camp, which was organized by Declared of Peace Foundation.
Yes.
And UNHCR in refugee camp.
Mm-hmm.
In time of my life, I have been a footballer. But I see football is something that it needs a lot of teamwork. Then I thought to myself, because now we had a race in camp, let me try my leg, maybe I can make it. I participated in 10 kilometers. And then I managed to become 3rd position. I thought to myself, I can make it without other people's support. Because in running it needs your hard working as a person, determination. And in everything that you are doing, you must trust in God. I told myself, if I can make without other people's support, let me depend on my determination as a person. That is how I ended up to be an athlete in 2015. When I finished my high school, I joined the training camp in Nairobi, in Gong.
So you left Kakuma?
I left Kakuma. Then we have been having several trials in the training camp. In 2016, in June, we had the final decision or the final selection of the refugee teams to participate in Olympics.
And you were picked? You were amongst them?
I was among the 10 athletes who represent the refugee teams out of 65 million people.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
For the first time I was shocked because I never thought maybe I can make it in life. To achieve that great things, to be a voice for the million of people, to represent the million, to say that yes, we are refugees, but we have a chance to change our life through sport. Because sport is one of the tools we can make the refugee to change their life. Not only education, because I tell many people don't depend on education, but even talent can change your life. I was proud to represent my people as a family of million refugees, because I call myself to be ambassador for them, to work for them, to say that we can make it. And the young people who are coming up in life, they can have hope in life, because most of them, they lose hope in life. And they feel ashamed to be called a refugee in life, but that is a name to be called a refugee. We can have a better title than refugee.
Let me bring Yvonne Ndege in. She's the spokesperson for the UN Refugee Agency. My goodness, what a story. And I'm sure you hear this all the time, Yvonne. You've heard these harrowing stories. Is there hope? Is there hope? I mean, it must lead a very tough, it must be tough going to work for you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's extremely tough. You've heard her story. I mean, what he experienced as a young child, what he went through to get to the safety of Kenya. It's absolutely incredible. And, There are thousands upon thousands, Jeff, of children, young people, women, men, boys, girls experiencing this every day, not just coming into Kenya, but across the African continent. And yes, there is hope. There is hope through the sort of events that we try to organise at UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, like the Step for Safety event coming up in Nairobi on the 23rd, which is all about putting yourself as an individual in the shoes of refugees, because most people feel very removed from the refugee situation.
Completely detached.
Exactly. They think, well, it's a problem for the United Nations, it's a problem for the international community to solve. But what we're saying at UNHCR is, no, you as an ordinary citizen, every single one of us can actually make a difference. And the whole idea is to first try to imagine the experience of leaving your homeland, leaving your village, leaving your community, leaving your belongings, and beginning a journey that you don't know when it's going to end, and stepping and walking for hours upon hours. So the idea is to get people to, first of all, empathize and imagine what it must be like to have to step or walk 10,000 steps to safety. And it's when you start to communicate to people that they can actually have an impact, that they can make a difference, that it's a solution, that we are looking for a homegrown solution, that we can change the fate and conditions and circumstances in which refugees dwell. It will obviously change things and bring about those solutions. In this country, there are nearly 500,000 refugees, and a lot of people don't know that, Jeff. They can make a difference. You can make a difference. Kenyans across the board can make a difference.
Absolutely. And Yvonne is talking about a walk on September the 23rd. It's a Sunday, beginning at the KICC at 7 a.m. and you can be a part of it. 10,000 steps, I like that. 10-kilometer walk. And I tell you, folks, it will go a long way towards helping a lot of these folks who have been through hell and back. At some point, did you lose hope, Pur Biel? Did you lose hope when you were in Kakuma or when you were in Loki? Did you say, you know what? I'm a 10-year-old. I mean, what does life have in store for me?
Yeah, Jeff, first of all, I lost hope when my mother left me. But I realized in life, you know, in everything that happened in your life, it has a purpose. When we arrived in Lokichogo, it is 1,000 miles from South Sudan. Now what came into my mind is whereby maybe I will not find my mother again or my family. But the only option that I put in my mind is education and to have trust in God. Although I'm hopeless in my life, but I know one day, one time, I will be a person in life, because no condition is permanent in life.
Sure.
And you can be in that situation as a hopeless person, but one day, one time, you can change your life. And apart from that, I find many young people who are living in refugee camps. They are minor. Even some of them, I'm older than them. I compare my situation with them. If they can survive alone, what about me? We can combine our effort together to live as a brother so that we can change our life. Your advice can change my life. My contribution can change what you are thinking about your life. Because you know our thinking capacity, Jeff, is whereby it is a conflict thinking capacity, violent capacity, whereby when somebody sees a refugee, he say that person is a violent person.
Right.
And we take that advantage to say that let's change that thinking capacity to be better in our life.
Do you have hopes of seeing your family meeting, reuniting one day?
Yeah, actually, I have hope, because, you know, home is the best. Now I have a big family, which is the refugees, then my family. But I cannot forget my family, because they need my care. Now there is in critical situation, because as we know that the current situation in our country, South Sudan, is getting worse every day.
Yeah.
But we are hoping for the best, because home is the best, and our nation is greater than the people who are leading.
Sure. Did your family finally end up in South Sudan? Did they go back?
Yeah, they go back to our area in Nazareth.
Your village?
My village.
And how is it now? there's a peace deal about to be signed officially. I know they signed it in Khartoum. And then they're going to come down south, and Riek Machar, actually, we saw in the papers today, or in the news today, that he's agreed to sign it.
Yeah, Dr. Riek agreed to sign the peace deal, and that is what we are hoping for, because
they've done this before, you know that.
Yeah, they have done it before for several times, but it failed.
Correct.
But now we are hoping for maybe they can sign the final deal, because the many people who are suffering is the young people who are living in the country, women. But to stop that situation in our country, we need our leader to think about the young generation who are coming up in the country. Because the country to develop, it needs these young people who are coming up. We have a loss of these 5 years which we are in fighting. We will not recover that years. Because young people now, like, they are not in school. They have lost hope. Comparing to other people who are, their children are in school. You see, but we hope so that we can recover that gap, to bridge that gap, to be a better one in our nation, because our leader, they need to realize our dream to become a leader.
And by the way, just for the listeners, we always take some things for granted. We're all wearing yellow T-shirts with the hashtag I am Luku Luku on them. These are the T-shirts that are going to be used on that walk on that day, Yvonne, right?
That's correct.
Once you register for the walk, you get a free T-shirt, and this is its step for safety.
That's right. You can register online at lukuluku.org / step for safety. That's lukuluku.org / step for safety. You register there. It's 1,500 shillings. You get the T-shirt, and of course, most importantly, Jeff, you get to put yourself in the shoes of a refugee and experience what it must be like walking for days. He talked about 1,000 kilometers.
That's from Mombasa to Kisumu.
And these are
to Malaba.
Yeah, and these are children, and you're a dad, I'm a mom. Imagine our kids having to walk from here to another country. It's horrible. So we really do want you, your team, everybody listening to the show to come out for Step for Safety.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also register by M-Pesa, pay bill number 329378. Again, M-Pesa pay bill number is 329378. Account number is Step for Safety. Yvonne, how do we avoid the fatigue factor? Because, we see refugees or people who have fled their countries, and it's like, and we're told to help. And there's that fatigue element. How do you avoid that? Because you were covering the 2007-2008 post-election violence here in Kenya for Al Jazeera, no less. And you saw for yourself how close we came to all becoming refugees, to tearing this country apart. We have no idea how close we came, but people like you probably saw more than most. And yes, we count our blessings. Yes, we always get to the edge of the abyss. We look down, we don't like what we see, and we pull back.
Yeah.
How do we avoid this fatigue factor?
It's a good question, Jeff. The most important thing is obviously raising awareness about the situation and about situations. Secondly, knowing and understanding that you can actually help to provide a solution to the refugee crisis. The most important thing, and our focus as an organisation, UNHCR, is looking at the refugee situation in the context of what we can do to bring long-term solutions, how refugees in Kenya can be more included during their time of exile in this country, how they can contribute, the solutions that ordinary citizens can provide through campaigns like Step for Safety, through the Luku Luku tribe, through supporting the UN Refugee Agency. And you're absolutely right, looking back to that post-election violence which I covered for Al Jazeera and the international media. Yes, Kenyans have to be aware and remember that we've come close. We've come very close to being in the shoes of somebody like Pur Biel. People say, well, it's not possible, it would never happen. That's not true, right? So we also have to look at the South Sudan situation as something that could have happened here. The Nigeria, Boko Haram situation is something that could happen here. The CAR situation. I mean, there are several crises like this, and the number that you mentioned at the beginning of the program, over 20 million Africans are displaced or on the move or fleeing conflict or fleeing persecution. So we shouldn't sit back and think, well, this is not our problem.
Right, or it'll never happen to us.
And it will never happen to us.
Yeah.
It's arresting situations like this, finding long-term solutions, putting pressure on our leaders to help find solutions. Kenya is a very strategic country, as you know, in the South Sudan situation, and we must call on our leaders to help find those solutions. And whilst those solutions are sought, let us be and let us continue to be a refuge for these young people fleeing. You know the statistics, over 60-70% of those that flee are women and children.
How old is your daughter?
She's 4.
Imagine her walking from Mombasa to Malaba.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think about Safari. I think about her having to flee, and it's a thought that no parent really can imagine. So we're hearing her story today as a 10-year-old. 1,000 kilometers from South Sudan.
And there were probably younger
Kakuma.
kids there, Paul,
yes,
right?
Absolutely, yeah. And Jeff, if you visit Kakuma or the Dab refugee camp, and you see the number of young children under 5s, thousands upon thousands of them, and they've all had this traumatizing experience, right? This traumatizing experience, so that we absolutely must work together, as I say, to find solutions, support campaigns like Step for Safety, empathize with refugees, know that this is possible, conflict is possible, and ensure that we are continuously looking, as I say, for those solutions to the refugee crisis, not just in Kenya, but across the African continent.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and come back and talk about how does one stay sane, Paul? How do you stay sane? I mean, people, you would lose your mind. 13 years later. You're 23 years old now. You've been a refugee most of your life.
Exactly.
Let's take a break, come back, and also solutions, guys, going forward. You can be a part of this, folks. September 23rd at the KICC from 7 a.m. Step for Safety, 10-kilometer walk. Walk in the steps of refugees. And yes, you can walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Right? But it could mean whatever it is you want it to mean.
Give it your own meaning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Luku.
Luku tribe.
By the way, tweets are coming in thick and fast. Kate Otega says, Pur Biel is one of the most inspiring people I know. He tells his story this morning, and thanks Hot 96 for standing with refugees. I mean, goodness. Again, this walk on the 23rd, Yvonne, explain to us exactly what's going to happen, because, 23rd September, it's a Sunday, 7 a.m. at the KICC. Take it from there.
Sure. So the walk, Jeff, basically captures the spirit of Africa, okay? The coming together, the shoulder to shoulder, to support each other, to show solidarity with our brothers and sisters who have been displaced, okay? We always find solutions as Africans to our problems. You turn to a brother or a sister. But when it's come to the forced displacement crisis across Africa, it's something that the ownership has been slightly removed, you might say, from Africans. And a lot of people, as I said earlier, think, well, it's a problem for UNHCR, it's a problem for NGOs, it's a problem for foreign governments to deal with. So this walk is about actually saying, no, we're going to take responsibility and introducing, right, the idea that you can actually make a difference, okay? People forced to flee their homes are some of the most resilient and most courageous people amongst us. And when we do this Step for Safety event, what we're saying is that we're walking in solidarity with refugees. So the idea, as I said earlier, is to put yourself in the shoes of a refugee, to walk for 10 kilometers. I mean, how many people do that on a day-to-day basis? And remember, these refugees, when they are fleeing, they're usually carrying everything that they own on their backs, plus children, okay, plus young children. So the idea is that we'll start the walk at KICC on the 23rd at 7 a.m. and we will take a route through Nairobi, and we will be talking about refugees, talking about forced displacement, talking about the 24 million Africans who do these journeys and have done these journeys, fleeing conflict, trying to find safety. And the whole point is to, as I said, raise awareness amongst citizens that they can get involved. And I challenge yourself, I challenge everybody I know to come on this walk and start to learn about this crisis and start to see yourself as somebody who can provide the solution. These refugees are not millions of miles away yet. They're in Kenya. They're in Turkana County and they're in Garissa County. They're living in camps. In Kakuma we have close to 200,000. In Dadaab around a similar number, but in total almost 500,000. We have at least 70,000 here in the urban area, in Nairobi and in Mombasa. Okay, so these people, we're living amongst them. They are living amongst us, okay? And we need to position ourselves as citizens as people who can actually help to find a solution. My final point, we also believe at UNHCR, I mean, my final point for now is what I mean. We also believe that, you know, future generations will look at us and look at how we responded, you know, to these unprecedented levels of displacement. So it's important that we also, as a generation, leave a legacy, which is to say, yes, we had this crisis and we are able to find solutions. We're able to look within ourselves for solutions.
Absolutely. Pur Biel, what keeps you going?
Yeah, what keeps me going is my determination because, you know, you need to have a principle in life, to have a target what you need to be in life. To be a refugee is something that is a part of life, but it cannot stop me to achieve what I need in life. In life, I put some principle to guide me. First one is to believe in God in everywhere that I'm going, because I know without God, I cannot make it. Secondly, that is, I believe in the United Nations because it saved million lives across Africa and other continents, because it saved a lot of people. And that, my determination keep me going in my school. Another thing, to make other young people to believe in themselves.
Yeah. If you were to give advice to your fellow Kenyans who take a lot for granted, what would you tell them?
Yeah, what I can tell my fellow Kenyan citizens is whereby, you know, to be called a refugee is something that it is a name. And you find these people, they find themselves to be in that situation. As you know that there's no a situation which is a permanent. Today it is me, but tomorrow we don't know what will happen in life. It can be somebody else. And I want Kenyan to put themselves in this situation is whereby, can we take this life to be real in life, in our experience, to be better, to be people in life? Because let's say your child it is in that situation, walking from one place to another to look for safety, and comparing to other life of the refugee who are walking from distance to distance, will you accept that situation to happen to your child? And we don't need to take that granted to say that let refugee to suffer in life, because they are our brothers, sisters. But we need to support these people whereby let come for the work, to see for ourselves, to work for that 10 kilometers, to feel how the refugee young people or the refugee people who are living, they feel in life and the challenges that they are facing in life to become people.
Sure. Yvonne.
Just as Per says, Jeff, nobody plans to be a refugee. Conflict, war, persecution can erupt anywhere. So how we respond as Kenyans, how we respond to crisis around us, the South Sudanese situation, the Somalia situation, the Eastern Congo situation, is crucial to how we would perhaps be treated if, God forbid, there were a conflict in this country and we became refugees. So the point is, how do we respond to this? Whose problem is it? Refugees are living in our midst and we can provide solutions. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, the Luku tribe, all of us are working towards, as I say, finding those solutions. And one important thing that I always say to people is, you know, when you cross a border, when you flee and you end up in another country, you're still the same person. You're still talented, you're still gifted, you're still capable, okay? And we can, as Kenyans, harness the talent, harness the abilities that many of these people who arrived in Kenya have come with until those long-term solutions are found, whether it's returning to South Sudan, whether it's being integrated and included locally, whether it's being resettled to a third country. We are in a position, as I say, to find those solutions. And the Step for Safety campaign and event on November 23rd, starting at KICC, is the first step. I'd like to see it as the first step, the introduction of this crisis.
Give us that email, the website again, website.
Sure, it's www.lukuluku.org/step for safety. Lukuluku is Luquluqu. Lukuluku.org/step for safety.
That's right. There's also an M-Pesa pay bill number 329378. Again, M-Pesa pay bill number 329378. Account number Step for Safety. Sunday, September 23rd, 7 a.m. at the KICC. Pur Biel, you're also now a part of the Refugee Olympic Committee. Is that what it is, or?
Yeah, actually, we had in 2017.
This is after Rio, after you did the whole Rio thing.
After Rio.
Yes.
And then we had a new organization called Olympic Refuge Foundation, which I'm board members. This way, Olympic Refuge Foundation is to create safe environment for young people who are living in camp.
Okay.
To have access to sport facility. And apart from that, is a way of giving young people education through sport.
Yeah.
And that is what we are doing. And our first project will be in Kakuma refugee camp, where we come from. The half of the team who participated in Olympic, they came from the refugee camp in Kakuma. And it is now to give out to young people to know that what we are doing is not granted. It can change even them.
If it wasn't for Tekla Lorupe and her initiative, where would you be?
My target is whereby if I finish my IS.
No, if it wasn't for her, if she hadn't started.
I don't. Maybe I will be in South Sudan, because what I was thinking is to go back to look for my part. But now I have different thinking capacity because I have a big family.
Yeah. Callistus Murunga says that young man is inspiring. Great determination and principles. His trust in God is just awesome. A challenge to most of us who've never known the pain of walking 450 kilometers, Juba to Lokichogyo to Kakuma. We should pray for them. That lady in the studio has touched my heart. That lady in the studio. Felix Atina says, Pur Biel's story is moving. I thank God for UN intervention. Keep up the good faith. Wow. Register, folks. Register today and be part of this. You could change a life. You never know. You could change a life. Because like Yvonne says, refugees don't choose to be who they are. Let's have some closing thoughts, okay? Pur Biel, first you. Some closing thoughts going forward. What do you have to say?
Yeah, what I can tell with my fellow refugee and ordinary citizens is whereby in everything that you are doing or to achieve great things in life, they require a lot of time. As a refugee, to change that title to be refugee, to be called a refugee, it will require time from our children, from other people. But for them, they need to have determination or believe themselves to say that, yes, I'm a refugee today, but one day, maybe my children will not be in that situation. We need to work hard to change that title to be called a refugee. But apart from having support from our ordinary people, we cannot make it. Because this is a situation that we were not wish to be in that situation. But now we find ourselves in that situation. We need people to support a refugee because without them, they cannot change their life.
Absolutely. Yvonne Ndege, you get the last word.
A couple of thoughts, Jeff. My first would be to say support the work of UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency in Kenya. You can go to our website, unhcr.org/KE, to find out everything you need to know about the refugee situation in Kenya and how you can be part of the solution. Support the Lukuluku Tribe campaign, hashtag Step for Safety, website lukuluku.org/Lukuluku. And I'd say my final point would be to say kind of what we've been saying during this this time with you. Becoming a refugee can happen to any of us, okay? If there is an outbreak of violence or instability where we live. How we respond as citizens and as a nation is crucial. We can make a difference. Step for Safety is one of the first initiatives to try and make this difference, and I invite absolutely everybody to come down on the 23rd of September at 7 a.m. Meet me, my colleagues, the entire UNHCR team down there at 7 a.m.
Fantastic. You used to report on refugees, now you're helping them.
Yeah, I'm trying my best, Jeff. I mean, it's absolutely not easy. The issues are very complex. The solutions are largely political. But there is this period where people like Per are in exile and need humanitarian assistance and need to be treated and respected and given the same opportunities as you and I have, because they are ordinary people.
Absolutely. Pur Biel, great to talk to you, man. Great story, and thank God you're alive. Well done. Yvonne Dege, as always, great to see you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Jeff.
This is what we call
a story a day. Only on Hot 96. The hottest breakfast.